Guests lined up, laughing and chatting, as they moved to the buffet table. Comfort, with her bright smile, scooped food onto their plates. The smell of jollof rice and fried chicken filled the air. The bride and groom held hands tightly. Everyone clapped and cheered as they began their first dance. Their eyes shone with love. They twirled, giggled, and leaned close, whispering secrets only they could hear. But then, something strange happened. Suddenly, guests began to hold their stomachs, twisting their faces in pain. And then both the bride and groom slumped to the ground. Their hands, still locked together, the music stopped. The laughter died. The room froze in horror. What had gone wrong? To answer this question, let's travel back in time. Many years ago, a pregnant woman named Angela stirred a huge pot of jollof rice. But then, her face tightened. Her hands gripped the wooden spoon. The pain came suddenly, strong and sharp. She staggered. "Sam," she called. Her husband, Sam, dropped the pestle he was using to pound pepper. His eyes widened in fear. He ran to her side. "Angela, hold on," he shouted. He lifted her gently onto his motorcycle and raced through the dusty road, his heart pounding louder than the engine. At the village clinic, Angela's cries grew weaker. Nurses rushed about, but the tools were old, the light was dim. That night, Angela gave birth to a baby girl. And then, her breath stopped. Sam's world broke into pieces. Tears blurred his sight as he held the tiny baby in his arms. He whispered, voice trembling, "You are my comfort now." And so, he named her Comfort. Comfort grew by the market stalls. While children marched to school with books in their arms, she carried basin of fresh tomatoes and peppers on her head to the grinder. Every day, she watched him cook jollof rice, and every day, she felt her mother's spirit close by, like the smoke rising from the fire. In the evenings, after hawking food with her father, Comfort would walk quickly to the small hall where the missionaries held evening school. But life had another turn waiting. One hot afternoon, Mr. Sam rode back from the market with 2 heavy bags of rice tied to his motorcycle. Then, bang! Out of nowhere, a huge truck swerved. The tires screeched. People shouted. Sam's motorcycle flew to the side. He didn't move again. By the time people ran to him, it was too late. Sam was gone. Comfort's world broke that day. The very next morning after the funeral, she walked to the fresh grave. She dropped to her knees, her tears falling like rain. "Papa, Papa, why did you leave me?" she cried. Heavy rain poured down. Thunder and lightning roared across the sky. She cried and cried, hugging the cold soil, her small body shaking. Life became harder. But Comfort had one gift: she knew how to cook. Her hands remembered everything her father had taught her. So she carried her small cooler of steaming jollof rice to the gates of the community secondary school. Some children rushed to her after classes, hungry for her food. They licked their fingers, their faces happy. Comfort swallowed her pain. She smiled and kept selling. Deep inside, her heart ached. One quiet morning, she was on her way to blend fresh tomatoes. A shiny car stopped beside her. The glass window rolled down slowly. A woman's voice called, "My dear, please, can you show me the way to Principal Ocon's house?" Comfort looked up. The woman was Madame Augusta. She explained she had come to see her uncle, the principal of the community school. Comfort pointed and even led the way. Principal Ocon was well respected by everyone. He welcomed his niece warmly. He loved children and always found time to play with them in the evenings. Days later, Madame Augusta was taking a quiet walk through the school compound. She stopped suddenly. In front of her eyes was Comfort, standing by her cooler, selling rice to the children. When she returned to her uncle's house, she asked gently, "Who is that girl? The one selling rice by the gate?" "That is Comfort," Mr. Ocon replied. "Her father died recently. Life has been hard for her." She leaned forward. "Uncle, I want to help her. I will take her with me to the city. She can work in my restaurant. And in return, I will pay for her university education. The next day, Mr. Okone sent for Comfort. Her eyes widened as he told her the news. Her heart began to race. Could this be real? Could her life change so suddenly? Comfort pressed her hands to her chest, her voice trembling. Sir, I will follow her to Lagos. She could not sleep that night. Something new was about to begin. 3 days later, Comfort packed her small travel bag. It wasn't much, just 2 dresses, her old slippers, and a tiny Bible her father once gave her. She held the bag close to her chest, her heart beating fast. Madame Augusta flew with Comfort back to Lagos. They arrived Lagos after an hour flight. Comfort's mouth opened in awe. She had never seen such tall buildings or so many cars moving at once. Madame Augusta's mansion was even more shocking. The compound was wide, with flowers neatly planted and cars parked inside. This is Comfort, Madame Augusta said with pride as she introduces her to her children Jane and Jaden. She will be staying with us. Comfort greeted them with a shy bow. Her voice trembled. Good evening, Ma. Good evening, sir. Madame Augusta led Comfort to her room. It was a small space in the boys' quarters. The bed was soft, though old, and there was a single chair and table. Comfort dropped her small bag and sat quietly, her heart still racing. Rest well, my dear, Madame Augusta said. Tomorrow, you start work in the restaurant. Comfort nodded gratefully. She could hardly believe this new life. The next morning, she put on a neat dress and followed Madame Augusta to one of her many restaurants. Comfort was placed in the kitchen. Jaden, who was the manager of that branch, stood at the corner giving instructions. His voice was firm, his eyes sharp. Everyone respected him. When Comfort was asked to cook, she moved with quiet confidence. She washed the rice carefully, sliced the tomatoes, peppers, and onions, and fried them slowly until the smell made other cooks turn their heads. When the jollof rice was ready, its bright red color shone in the pot, and the aroma filled the kitchen. Customers who tasted it closed their eyes with delight. This is the best jollof rice I've eaten, one man shouted. The other cooks whispered among themselves. What's her secret? How does she cook like this? They begged her to share her recipe. Comfort only smiled and said softly, I grew up in a village buka. Every day, she worked harder. She served food with a smile, cleaned up without complaints, and treated every customer like family. Even Jaden, who rarely smiled, began to watch her closely. But Comfort had a dream that was bigger than just cooking. Every evening, after closing hours, she tied her books together and hurried off to evening school. She wanted to pass her West African Council examination. She wanted a better future. The kitchen was hot that afternoon. Comfort stood over the table, cutting chicken carefully. Sweat rolled down her forehead, but she didn't mind. She was used to hard work. Then a waiter came close, his voice low. The manager wants to see you, he whispered. Comfort froze. Her heart gave a quick jump. Why would the manager want her? Did she make a mistake? Did a customer complain? The door creaked open. Jaden sat there, leaning back in his chair. His eyes locked on her, sharp and deep. He didn't blink. Comfort's legs felt weak. Then he said, I like you, Comfort. Be my girlfriend. The words filled the room like thunder. Comfort's heart began to race. She didn't know if she should smile, speak, or run out the door. Her palms grew wet, her throat dry. That night, she lay in her small room in the boys' quarters. Sleep refused to come. Her heart thumped loudly, as if it wanted to break free. Over and over, she heard Jaden's words in her mind. I like you. But he was her boss. Madame Augusta's son. The one everyone respected. Days passed. Then weeks. But Jaden did not stop. He would step into the kitchen and tease her while she stirred the pot. He would drive her home after work, his eyes always on her. Sometimes, he brought her small gifts, sweet-smelling perfume, shiny shoes, even a necklace that glowed under the light. Comfort, the village girl who once hawked rice in the sun, felt something new. Something warm. For the first time, she felt special. Soon, they began to meet in secret. At first, it was just small talks in quiet corners. Then it became holding hands, long walks under the streetlights, whispers that made her blush. And finally, Comfort gave in to his love. Months rolled by. One morning, she stood alone in her small room, her hands shaking. In her hand was a test strip. 2 red lines stared back at her. She gasped. Her breath caught. She sat on the bed, her knees trembling. She was carrying Jaden's child. With trembling lips, she told him the news. Her eyes searched his face, hoping for joy, hoping for love. But Jaden's eyes grew hard. His jaw tightened. His voice dropped, sharp and cold. Comfort, you know this can't happen. My mother will never accept this. Her eyes widened, tears already stinging. But, you said you loved me, she whispered. Jaden leaned closer, his words like knives. I can't father a child with a common cook. The words stabbed Comfort deeper than any blade. The world that once felt bright now turned dark. The next morning, Comfort woke up to a loud noise outside her small room. She opened the door and froze. Madame Augusta was waiting angrily. Her angry voice echoed across the compound like thunder. You think you can trap my son with pregnancy? Foolish girl. Pack your things and leave my house this instant. Comfort's knees went weak. She fell to the ground, tears rolling down her cheeks. She begged, her voice shaking. Please ma, I have nowhere to go. Please, don't do this to me. But Madame Augusta turned away, her face was hard. Her ears were deaf to Comfort's cries. That afternoon Jaden left for his master degree abroad. His mother had arranged everything. The rain poured in Lagos that night. Comfort stood by the roadside, her belongings soaked, her hair dripping with water. She had nowhere to sleep. Nowhere to hide. By morning, she stepped into a cramped, shadowed face me I face you room, the walls pressing in as her tears fell relentlessly for days, each sob echoing the weight of her shattered world. Even though she was 6 months pregnant, she carried her steaming pot of jollof rice through the busy streets of Lagos. The rain drenched her clothes until they stuck to her body. People tasted her food and smiled. This rice is sweet, they said. They bought more. Slowly, little by little, she began to save. Months later, in a small clinic, Comfort gave birth to a baby boy. She held him close to her chest, tears and sweat on her face. You are all I have, she whispered. Her lips trembled as she kissed his tiny forehead. But you are enough. Life was hard, very hard. But Comfort was tougher than life itself. Years passed like the turning pages of a book. Comfort's food business grew. From a street corner, she moved into a small shop. From the little shop, Comfort built a name for herself, opening a restaurant that soon became known for her talent in catering for events, turning ordinary gatherings into unforgettable feasts. Her jollof rice became the talk of Lagos. Event planners called her for big parties. Customers praised her food. Her name spread like fire through the city. The same girl who once hawked food at a school gate was now a powerful caterer, standing tall in Lagos. But deep inside, Comfort still carried a scar shaped like love, betrayal, and pain. The morning was quiet. Comfort sat in her office, her pen moving quickly across the paper. She was arranging food orders, writing down numbers, and checking dates. Her business had grown so big now that planners came every day. The door opened gently. An event planner walked in with a wide smile. Madam Comfort, she said, please cater for this wedding. It's a big one. Comfort smiled politely and reached out her hand. She collected the invitation card. But the moment her eyes touched the paper, her fingers froze. The card slipped a little in her hand. Her eyes widened. Her heart almost stopped. The bold words read, Wedding of Jaden and Vanessa. And right below, his picture. Jaden. smiling, dressed in a fine suit, looking happy. The air in the room felt heavy. She couldn't breathe. Memories crashed into her like waves, Jaden's cold face, his sharp words, her belongings thrown out into the rain, the nights she wept alone. The shame, the loneliness, the betrayal. That night, she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Sleep came slowly, and when it came, it brought a strange dream. She was at Jaden's wedding. The hall was bright with music. Guests lined up, laughing and chatting, as they moved to the buffet table. Comfort, with her bright smile, scooped food onto their plates. The smell of jollof rice and fried chicken filled the air. The bride and groom held hands tightly. Everyone clapped and cheered as they began their first dance. Their eyes shone with love. They twirled, giggled, and leaned close, whispering secrets only they could hear. But then, something strange happened. Suddenly, guests began to hold their stomachs, twisting their faces in pain. And then both the bride and groom slumped to the ground. Their hands, still locked together. The music stopped. The laughter died. The room froze in horror. Silence swallowed the hall. The music died. The laughter ended. And there she was, Comfort, standing tall, a serving spoon in her hand. Her face was cold. Her eyes were dark. She had poisoned the food. The wedding turned into a graveyard. Comfort's eyes snapped open. She woke with a loud gasp. Sweat dripped from her forehead. Her chest pounded so fast it hurt. She sat up on her bed in the dark, her hands shaking. "What kind of dream was that?" she whispered. "Was it a warning? Or was it the secret wish of my heart?" The wedding day was drawing closer and closer. The invitation card still sat on her table like a shadow. And now Comfort had a choice. To serve her food with love, or to serve her pain with poison. The wedding day finally came. Comfort's catering team arrived early. The hall was decorated with golden lights. Music filled the air. Guests laughed, their fine clothes shining. The smell of her food spread quickly. Jollof rice, chicken, fried plantain, pepper soup. For a moment, the dream came back to her. The dream of poison, the guests collapsing, silence falling. She felt her hand tremble on the serving spoon. But then, she remembered. She remembered her father calling her Comfort. She remembered the rain the night she cried at his grave. She remembered carrying her baby through hunger, through shame, through rain and sun. And she remembered whispering, "You are enough." Her lips curved into a small smile. "No," she whispered to herself. "I will not let hate guide me. I will feed them with love. My success is enough." The guests ate her food and clapped in delight. "This is the best jollof rice ever," they shouted. Comfort's name spread even more. From across the hall, Jaden's eyes met hers. But Comfort did not look away in anger. She lifted her head high, served another plate, and turned back to her work. Madame Augusta walked up to Comfort with tears in her eyes and gave her a big hug. She had won, not by poison, not by revenge, but by rising above. That night, as she sat in her living room with her son holding her hand, she whispered to him, "Remember this, my child. True strength is not in hurting others. True strength is in forgiving, in rising, and in walking tall." Her son squeezed her hand. "Yes, Mama." And Comfort smiled. The village girl who once hawked rice in the sun had not only become a queen of food in Lagos, she had become a queen of her own heart. Life will test you, but your response is what defines you. Comfort chose forgiveness over revenge, and her story reminds us that bitterness destroys but love builds. What would you choose if it were you? Would you have turned down the catering job or poisoned their meals? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so others can learn too.